She can connect any two events in history with yarn, thumbtacks, and unwarranted confidence. She doesn't need sources, she is the source. She once debated herself and lost twice. Intelligence agencies follow her Twitter just to see what they're doing next. She never met an obvious explanation she couldn't turn into a confusing 2-hour podcast. She possesses priceless secrets, but will share them with anyone for a small subscription fee. In her world, all roads lead to Israel, even cul-de-sacs. She is the most kooky podcaster in the world, but then again, the feds told us to say that.
And we're grateful to have everybody on a McFile late night Friday free-for-all. We haven't had one of these in a while, and we've got a very special guest coming up on a pre-recorded interview. Here in just a few minutes, Gidon Ariel. He is part of the Likud party in Israel, and we interviewed him yesterday, and it was actually late at night in Israel when we did, and he was very, very gracious. He had had a 10 or 11 hour day, he told me, and but he gave us about 20 minutes, and that'll take us into the 11 o'clock hour tonight, and then I've got you. Oh, I got you, and we're gonna light it up. We're gonna light it up, and we're gonna deal with the lies, some of them at least, that continue to wage against Israel. Just a quick summary before we get to Gidon. I want to show the picture tonight of the hostages. I think this is the picture I saw today. 21 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It was more than that. May be the 48. That's all 48 of them. 20 of these hostages are basically presumed still alive, and that's this picture right here. And we are hoping that by Monday night, when we come on the show, that those names right there will be back home in the United States. So we will see, and we're watching things progress. There has been not a lot of change in the situation today. The ceasefire was approved last night by the Israeli Knesset, and we just now are waiting and seeing to see if Hamas fulfills its role in this. We're going to talk with you about that tonight, but we're going to talk about it with Gidon, Ariel, right here in just a second. We need to continue to keep praying, folks, for these hostages. I still, I think most of us are in a wait and see attitude, and I think that's the only posture we've got right now. So we'll see. We'll see how things go, and we definitely are praying for that situation tonight. Also, tonight marks the 1 year anniversary of the passing, and it's not really passing. I should change that. It's more than a passing. It was the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and I wanted to download a picture, if you don't mind, that I saw today that I thought was very unique and very special with the Kirk family tonight, and we got some things to say about all that. But this is the 1 year anniversary, 1 month anniversary of that happening on September the 10th. Tonight is October the 10th. There's Erica, him, and their little darling there, and the baby too. He had 2 daughters. Now I take that back, a boy and a girl. And our prayers continue to go for the Kirk family tonight, and so forth. Got a lot to say about that in relation to some of the things I'm going to be talking about tonight. And we'll take your thoughts at some time. So get your popcorn, late night coffee, get your late night Coke. This is better than Kimmel. This is better than Myers. This is better than Fallon. It's better than all the losers put together on late night. This is the McFiles Late Night Show. Now, I do want to say I didn't know this last night. I understand there was a lot of echo with Brad Johnson's interview. We apologize for that. It was the Zoom connection. We had our mic up, and we were trying to make sure you heard both of us. But I hope you heard Brad. It was not. Most people could hear him pretty good. There was a few that complained about the booming sound. Sometimes we get an echo. It's better to be loud or too loud than too soft, because I get that sometimes. I can't hear him, and then when we turn it up, it's too loud. So we're trying to find a happy medium. One of these days, we're going to have a big multi-million-dollar studio, and it's going to be all sound correct. We'll have a producer, and that is my wish, because even though we're 7 years into this, we're just tapping the surface of where we're headed, I believe. And don't despise the days of small beginnings, is what I've always been told. And that's how I feel. So we're not going to despise these days when we're still just a small network. But I tell you, I believe we got a lot of heart, and we got the best audience in the world. And that we're grateful that you're here with us tonight. I want to get right to this interview, though, with Gidon. He'll encourage you. And, you know, these opinions, folks, I need to say this about our guests. When we have guests on here, their opinions are welcome. It does not reflect all the time the attitude or the opinion of this network. And just because we have them on, there's going to be some things that are said that we may not see eye to eye on. But we're never going to have anybody on that we know that will say anything that's going to bring any kind of serious harm to you, either emotionally or spiritually or whatever else. We've got guests on here that sometimes they don't see things from a faith perspective as we do, but we have them on because what they have to say is very important as it relates to the country. It does not mean that we agree with every jot and tittle that they say. And I tell you all the time, even when I'm talking, these opinions are mine. You're welcome to yours. And, you know, we don't hold it against folks, even though we're accused of that. We don't. What we do hold it against you for is being rude. You're being rude in our chat. That's when we have the issue. But as far as disagreeing, you're welcome to disagree. And, we good. We've come a long way in 7 years handling that kind of situation, a long way. But the bottom line is that there's so much opinion right now as on this Israeli situation, and we're going to deal with this tonight because the lies, the war. I saw an ex post today. I think it was Noah Berg, and she said, I think it beautifully. She said people think the war in Gaza is over with because that's how the media's planted that idea in her head. That there's a ceasefire now, that it's all over. And we don't need to be thinking that because it's far from over. It's far from over. And I don't think it's going to be over till Hamas is disarmed and removed from the Gaza Strip. And that's not going to be an easy thing to do. The first phase is get these hostages home. And I think that's one reason that President Trump and Bibi Netanyahu are walking a very quiet line right now. I think the world's holding their breath. I'm holding mine, praying. We need to pray that these people come back. But we don't need to forget these faces. But I'm going to tell you something else we don't need to forget. We don't need to forget the 1,200 Israelis that were slaughtered in cold blood. The men, the women, the babies, the young people, the old people, couples, family members, moms, dads, little children slaughtered, throats slit right in front of them, thrown into the fire. Brad was talking about this last night. Hell will freeze over before this network forgets it. And hell will freeze over before we bow the knee to this anti-Semitic demon that is raging in the church, and is raging in prophets, and raging in people that know better. Intelligent people that supposedly have a brain, but they are so filled with this stupidity, and I've stopped trying to figure out where it comes from. But we're going to play some video tonight, and I'll let you try to figure that one out with me. But we're going to deal with it tonight a little bit. We're going to deal with it next week because the war continues. No matter a ceasefire, the war on truth and the war about really what happened, they're already making lies up about who started the war. And we're going to talk about that tonight too. Ariel, Gidon, Ariel, and me are going to talk about some things related to this right now. We're grateful you're with us on the McFiles Late Night Friday. This interview will last 15, 20 minutes max, and I'll be back with some video and your thoughts. And it's good to have you up this late. You folks out west, y'all are just finishing dinner. You folks up out east, you're just getting the late night toddy ready. And the milk and cookies. So we're grateful you're here. I brought the cowboy hat out. What did I just say? I brought the cowboy hat at. Lord have mercy. It's late night. We're going to have a good time. We're going to rock the house with you. Here's Gidon Ariel, member of the Likud party, Bibi Netanyahu's government. He's got a lot to say about this tonight in the short time that he shares his thoughts with you. It's good stuff. Listen up, and we'll take your questions and thoughts after this, okay? Grateful to have you tonight. If you're grateful you're here, you know what to do. Put some fire in that house. Here is the Mac Man and Gidon. And a good evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with a special pre-recorded McFiles broadcast. We're so grateful to have our dear friend Gidon Ariel. We're so grateful to have him tonight. He's been with us before. He's part of our family, mishpacha, as they say in the Jewish language, and he is that. And my dear friend, I appreciate you coming on tonight. And this has been a very powerful last 24 hours in the Middle East, really for the world. And we wanted to bring you in and get your take on this. I know that for the hostages' sake, at least, there's good news that they may be free here in the next 72 hours. But I wanted to get your take on the other deal. We hope that that's true. I think we're all praying for the best, hoping for the best. But there's this part of us, I think all, and I'll get your take on this. I'm still not convinced that we've got fair brokers who are brokering this deal. And for Israel's sake, Gidon, I hope this is going to be what's best for the nation. But I don't, from my perspective, this is my opinion. I've got a lot of thoughts about this, and it's not going to, the whole structure of it just seems that Israel continues to get the short end of these sticks whenever these deals are brokered like this. What's your thoughts on all that? I know you got to be happy at least that there's hope now that the hostages may be back.
Well, first of all, I was incredibly happy already 2 years ago, a few weeks after the war started. A handful of hostages were returned to their families. Maybe it was even one or two, but to me that seemed like a great miracle. And then a few months later, I think close to 100 were released over the course of a week. So out of an original 250 hostages, pardon me if I'm off by a few dozen, today we're down to only 48 hostages. In other words, all but 48 hostages have been released over the past 2 years. And just now I saw a list of these hostages. One of them is from, I think, closer to 10 years ago, not the current crop, pardon the expression.
Right.
And another 4 of them are not even Israelis. They're from Nepal or something like that. But in any case, obviously, everybody's life is very, very important. It's also very important to note that of these 48 current hostages, 20 are presumed to be alive, while 28 are confirmed to be dead. And Israel is very important for us to retrieve their bodies so that they can be given proper burial as well, to honor them and their families. So and now that about, it seems like forever ago, but it was only probably about 2 or 3 days ago, the Israel team and the American team have basically said we are approaching a deal that includes not only Israel and Hamas, but Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Lebanon, and Turkey. It's all over the place, which I think was a very, very wise move on Trump's part to bring more players in. I'm not sure exactly what their part in the deal is, but it makes it a lot more important for them and therefore for Hamas. Of course, everybody, Israel, I love to say, is a family pretending to be a country. So all of these hostages who are now coming back, it's as if every single person in Israel, every single Jewish person in Israel, and not only Jewish persons in Israel, are feeling that we're finally getting our brother back, our sister back. So that is something that all of us are very, very, very positive about.
That's good. Are you pleased with the overall structure of this? I know that a lot of this is contingent on Hamas disarming and the IDF taking some control of Gaza. And again, a lot of this is contingent on some things still. But the first phase, of course, is the hostage release. Is Israel in general happy with the plan itself beyond the hostages?
There are some people to the right of me that would only want the absolute perfection, which is, of course, every single person who's ever raised their hand, if somebody said, "Does anybody agree with Hamas around here?" that they would be totally obliterated, and that the latest contractor that built a 70-story skyscraper in Tel Aviv should now move over and start building skyscrapers like that for Jews and Israelis in the Gaza Strip. But unfortunately, things don't work as according to our best laid plans and dreams. So the fact that we are going to be getting the hostages back, as it seems, and President Trump is throwing his full weight behind that. He's going to be coming to the Middle East. He's going to be coming to Israel to speak at the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. And I understand he's also going to Egypt, where the deal will actually be signed, and he's going to be one of the signatories of the deal. So the president of the United States, the world superpower, does not just come out to the Middle East unless things are actually going to happen. So that makes it us feel very, very positive about that.
That's good.
And so once we get those hostages back, which of course will be a tremendous emotional roller coaster for all Israelis, then we'll see what's going to happen next.
Okay.
And it just might be that something positive is going to come out of all of this.
Well, I hope so, Gidon, for the state of the nation and for the sake of these families. And I know there's been such hurt. We've interviewed you in between the events of October the 7th and this today, and it seems like a lifetime ago. And it seems that these feast days, the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, is coming to an end. They'll be released basically at the end of Sukkot. And that was sort of the time that this terrorist attack hit in October the 7th. And it just seems that there's so much, not coincidence with God. There's always reasons for these dates. But how is the overall feeling in the nation? I know that is there this hope, as you said, that this goes beyond Hamas, and I got to ask this question, and it's been eating at me. Is there going to be any accountability? I know that I'm with you that the obliteration thing can only work so much, but do you believe there will be any accountability to the leadership of Hamas that perpetrated this terrorist act? Do you think that Bibi is just trying to get the hostages back and then deal with this? Or do you think that this is going to be washed away and, we just go on and we unfortunately not forget what happened, but it's just, I feel like that these families that have been brutalized and murdered and raped and tortured, there's got to be some accountability somewhere. And that's just my opinion from over here. How does Israel view all that?
Well, I'm sorry, Chris. The beginning of your question, I was unable to hear. There was bad reception. Can you repeat just the beginning of your question?
All I was asking is that the hostages were released. They're going to be released on Sukkot, which is Monday. That's what the thing is. And I was just basically talking about the accountability issue of Hamas. Is there going to be any accountability? I know I'm not talking obliteration. But is there going to be any accountability, you think, for the people that perpetrated this terrorist act going forward? Or do you think this is going to end it once this deal is finalized and you get the hostages back, then this will be sort of put in the back burner of history?
No. I understand that this is a 21-point plan. And Hamas is, first of all, part of the deal is that Hamas gives up its leadership. It's the fact that it is in charge in the Gaza Strip. They're leaving, and many of the leaders are going to be exiled from the Gaza Strip. So what you call accountability, Hamas is, from our understanding and perspective, they are going to be held responsible. The way that they are spinning it for their audiences, that's already a different question. I saw a few short videos of people dancing and happy in Gaza that they think that they won the war. But I think that that's an important methodology of President Trump for each side of a deal to feel that they're getting a good part of the deal. Nobody likes to feel that they've been railroaded. Now, we again, I would be happy to railroad every single Hamasnik. Just put them on the railroad and let the train go over them. But that is not a negotiation, and that is not the way that evidently this was meant to end. And the reason is because everybody in Israel, especially the families and their closer supporters, wanted the hostages home, and that was a Gordian knot. We couldn't just kill all of Hamas because they're holding the hostages. Pardon the expression. They're holding them hostage.
Yeah, they
are
with
a gun at each live hostage at their temple. So we can't shoot. That's the way it is. If there's a hostage situation, you can't just kill the hostage takers if they're holding a hostage, and you might kill the hostage, and that's the most important thing, not to make sure that doesn't happen. So that is the reason that we're so careful about this.
How does the nation feel about Bibi now? Does this help him sort of overcome some of the angst from the event? Does this help him long term as leader of Israel?
I think that the way that I see things, Netanyahu is shouldn't be, but de facto he's an extremely divisive character. That about half the country, probably a lot more than half, probably closer to about 60% of the country loves him, and about 40% hate him with a passion.
Sort of like
Sound
Trump.
familiar?
Yes, sort of
And
like Trump.
I don't, and some individuals, when I'm talking about individuals, I'm talking about tens and maybe hundreds of thousands, but I'm talking about here in Israel, individuals who didn't like Netanyahu, but they see what he's doing, and they might say, you know what? It seems that he's doing a good enough job after all. You're talking to me. I'm a member of the Central Committee of Prime Minister Netanyahu's Likud party.
Yes.
So I'm obviously a supporter of Netanyahu. So it's a little hard for me to speak for the entire country when I know that about 45% of the country opposes him. But I do think that he's doing a phenomenal job fighting 8 fronts of a war at the same time, including a local front of those 45% of the country that doesn't like him, including also the judiciary, the court system. They're taking him to court. Did you know this?
Yes.
That Netanyahu, while he's trying to run this war, he is being required to appear in court 2 or 3 days a week. It's just unbelievable.
Wow.
I'd much rather have him in the bore in the pit, making sure that he's running the war the best way that he can. But that's the way it works in a democracy.
Is there any? I heard a report this morning that some of this rapid pace of this deal was put together after the bombing in Qatar by the Israelis went after the Hamas leadership that was meeting supposedly in that hotel. Qatar got upset about it, went to Trump. Trump pressured Bibi to let's get this done. My question to you is simple. I know that he put pressure on Israel to do this. Why did Hamas capitulate so quickly, whereas they've held in to this moment? Is there any dynamic to that we pressured Israel and yet Hamas comes to the table? Is it just the Trump effect, or is it the fact that Hamas was cornered? They saw that they were not going to survive this, and this was their lifeline. What's your take on that?
As I mentioned before, I think that the fact that Trump brought in a lot of Muslim and Arab countries and have them serve as signatories, or I'm not even sure exactly what their position is, but these are the countries that Hamas was counting on to have their backs, and here they are basically telling them, "Listen, Hamas, this is the deal. Take it or leave it." And guess what? You're taking it. And when they saw that there was nobody else standing next to them, they said, "Okay, we're going to try our best to save face, but we're going to accept this deal." And I think that's what I don't. Obviously, I'm amongst those who believe that that Israel's military might and its military pressure on Hamas was very much part of what's going on over here. And that you mentioned also the attack in Qatar a few weeks ago also made Hamas understand that they can run, but they cannot hide from Israel's long arm of justice. All of these things together are bringing Hamas back to the table, and ultimately to sign that piece of paper with God's help.
We're not going to do it tonight because I know your time is limited, but I want to get you on again to talk about the after effects of October the 7th and the anti-Semitism for the 2 years. But I do want to ask you this. Is this one final question? I'll let you go. Does this restoke the Palestinian state debate, or does this put that to rest? Where does Israel go from here? Like, we get all this done. Let's pray. I'm praying for the best. I'm praying for this deal to work for all parties. You get the hostages back. Hamas is liquidated, or not liquidated, but at least marginalized. Israel controls that strip to a degree. Let's see, everything of this 21-point plan works to perfection. Where does Israel go from here? Does this give more fuel to the fire for a Palestinian state, or takes it away?
I'm sorry, repeat your last question, sir.
Does this give more power to the ones wanting a Palestinian state, instead of maybe taking that issue off the table? Does this increase the call for a state, or does the world see that Israel's been given the Palestinians a state for many years now and has not worked?
It seems that no matter whatever anybody does, whatever Israel does, it's a great opportunity to pressure Israel to accept a Palestinian state just 17 miles away from its other side.
Yes.
I think that this is a clear reason to not allow a Palestinian state, of course, in Judea and Samaria in the West Bank.
I'll agree.
But what can I do? So much of the world sees things differently, and that is going to be our next challenge, to make sure that that does never, ever happen. Because what happened, people forget very quickly, what happened in the Gaza Strip is that the PA, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO, just as they had power and they were leading in the West Bank, they won in the Gaza Strip as well. But Hamas came and took over, murdered a lot of Palestinian opposition people who they were in opposition to, and turned the Gaza Strip into the hell that it was. If there will be this is something very, very important for your listeners to understand, and I'm sure that most of them do, a Palestinian state in the West Bank is a death knell for Israel, because right now Gaza was about 30 miles away from Tel Aviv. The West Bank is about 5 miles away from Tel Aviv. We're not going to have it. It is the hilly country. There are mountains, the mountains of Samaria. You just have to stand on top of a mountain with a pea shooter, and you already control all of Tel Aviv and Ben Gurion Airport. A Palestinian state in any part of Judea and Samaria is a death knell for Israel and will never, ever be accepted. And Netanyahu never misses the opportunity to say there will never be a Palestinian state in Judea and Samaria.
Good deal. Gidon, I appreciate you coming on. I know it's late. I know you've been having a long day. I'm going to let you go tonight, but I want to thank you for coming on. I'm going to give you a final thought. What do you want Americans to know about where things are at in Israel tonight and how the nation's feeling about this deal? We'll let you wrap it up. And I know you're tired. I want to thank you for coming on. I know you went above your Call of Duty tonight. I'll get you back on another time when we can talk longer. But what's your final thoughts on all this tonight? Or are you confident personally that Hamas is going to live up to their bargain on this?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your program. It's always a pleasure. I'd also like to tell you that in the past, some of your listeners have taken me up on my challenge, that is to contact me, to look up Gidon Ariel at Root Source. Look at my website, Root Source. Got some interesting things coming up over there, so I encourage you all to reach out to me. As far as will this really, I think you just asked me, will this really happen? Will we be sitting on next Wednesday or Thursday for sure, and having all of the live and most of the dead hostages back home? Or will Hamas play some sort of a game? Well, I'm sorry to disappoint. The answer is nobody knows until it actually happens.
I'm with you.
I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic by my nature. But I've seen some of the horrific psychological games that Hamas has been playing with us over these past 2 years. frankly, over these past 20 years. And I wouldn't put anything beyond them.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. My friend, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And I hope you have a good evening, and shalom, and our prayers for the nation of Israel and for your family, my friend. And I do pray. We're praying in America this goes right for Israel's sake. I can tell you that. There's a number of Americans that love the nation of Israel. We stand behind her. And our thoughts and deepest sympathy still go out to the victims of 10/7/23. And I think for the hostages' sake, Gidon, if nothing else, for the family's sake, this is going to be a good thing to get these people home to their families. And for that, I'm praying for the best. I really am, buddy. And I appreciate you being with us tonight.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I appreciate your prayers, the prayers of your listening audience. And I am praying here from Israel, both for us and for you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Have a good night, my friend. Take care.
Shalom, shalom.
Oh, Ariel Gidon, everybody. Great interview with him tonight. We're grateful. It was long, as I said. He was very tired. You can tell he was yawning there at the end. He had an 11-hour day, and we're fortunate we got that part of this. Ruth Gudenheim was not able to be with us this week. We'd have loved to got her take on it, and Ruth Londy. We're going to try to get them on next week, and I got some other people we're working on to come on the show. But it was some good stuff, and I think he summed it up there at the end. Nobody knows what's going to happen here in the next 72 hours. I think we're optimistically hoping for the best, praying for the best, expecting. Just got to have faith, I guess. I guess we just got to have faith. And it's hard to do with the players that we've got in Hamas. I really mean that. All righty. I want to do a few things here. It's 11:30. We're going to try to get you out of here by midnight on this Friday night. So I got to move quickly, but I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to come on the camera. This is our stage, we call it, where we play our videos, and Chris screams at you a lot. Chris screams a lot over here on the on this part of the screen. The lies continue, folks. There's just absolute insanity of the lying media, and I want to talk about that first tonight, and then I'm going to play some other things and show you some memes. But I want you to understand that this war, folks, over truth has not stopped. And the war against Israel has not stopped. But it's now coming from different sources. This is Chris Cuomo, and I think this is Hussein Moussef, talking about just that. Roll the tape.
My brother, good to see you. Give it to me.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank President Trump for his efforts to secure the release of the hostages. This is the good news. On the other hand, the situation in Gaza and the future of Gaza is in the hands of a barbaric group, that they're going nowhere. If we don't evacuate civilians, Trump's original plan to relocate the Gaza entire population, there's going to be Hamas. And if it's not Hamas, there's going to be Islamic Jihad. If it's not Islamic Jihad, there's going to be a communist Palestinian fanatics with intentions to wipe Israel off the map. You know, today when they release the hostages, they are not only releasing the hostages, Israel is releasing thousands of mass murderers of the caliber of Yahya Sinwar. You know what does that mean? Yahya Sinwar is the architect of October 7. And today when Israel had no other choice under global pressure and global outrage, they had to release thousands of this type, of these criminals. Do you think the world is going to be a safer place after releasing such savages?
No.
I am not very optimistic. I'm very happy about the return of the hostages, but the situation is not going towards peace. If you don't listen to it now, 10 years from now, you will remember my words, and it's going to be much worse. So now we can convince ourselves that peace is happening, but 10 years from now, 15 years from now, the entire world is going to regret it. So it's better to wake up now and face reality before it comes and slap us right on the face. Enough is enough.
That's good stuff. That is good stuff right there. I want to play that again, folks. Need to hear this. Is the son, by the way, of the former Hamas leader, got converted to Christianity, saw the light, saw Jesus. You need to hear this again. Roll tape.
My brother, good to see
Hear
you.
the tape. Roll the tape.
Give it to me.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank President Trump for his efforts to secure the release of the hostages. This is the good news. On the other hand, the situation in Gaza and the future of Gaza is in the hands of a barbaric group that they're going nowhere. If we don't evacuate civilians, Trump's original plan to relocate the Gaza entire population, there is going to be Hamas. And if it's not Hamas, there is going to be Islamic Jihad. If it's not Islamic Jihad, there is going to be a communist Palestinian fanatics with intentions to wipe Israel off the map. You know, today when they release the hostages, they are not only releasing the hostages, Israel is releasing thousands of mass murderers of the caliber of Yahya Sinwar. You know what does that mean? Yahya Sinwar is the architect of October 7. And today when Israel had no other choice under global pressure and global outrage, they had to release thousands of this type, of these criminals. Do you think the world is going to be a safer place after releasing such savages? I am not very optimistic. I'm very happy about the return of the hostages. But the situation is not going towards peace. If you don't listen to it now, 10 years from now, you will remember my words, and it's going to be much worse. So now we can convince ourselves that peace is happening, but 10 years from now, 15 years from now, the entire world is going to regret it. So it's better to wake up now and face reality before it comes and slap us right on the face. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough, folks. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. By the way, I want to play you a video, but I want to show you the meme first before we play you the video. This is what was going on in the Gaza last night during the sort of the blowback of all of this. And I just downloaded that. Where did it go? I just downloaded it. You got to be joking me. Where did it download to? Let's see here. Here it is right here. I want you to look at this very closely. This was posted by Reuben Katz and also Israeli News Pulse. In Gaza last night, people were celebrating the deal, and they took to the streets chanting, Kabar Kabar Yehud. The people of Gaza will return. It's basically, folks, an Arab chant that was calling last night to kill the Jews. Now, I've noticed in our counter tonight, our question tonight that we're asking to you out there in the YouTube channel, and you can also look at it on the Facebook page. You can chime in. Do you believe Israel's response to the Hamas terrorist attacks of October the 7th was appropriate? Because that's the whole big argument tonight, and that's some of the lies that are going on against Israel. But I want you to play this and bear to your point. I want you to look at these guys. Looks like they got pretty clean haircuts to me. Looks like they've got a lot of energy to roam the streets and scream, kill the Jews. Still tonight, this is the Gaza people, folks. The Gazans, yes, that Gazan people that are supposedly being genocided and starved to death by Israel. Roll the tape. That was yesterday. Now, I'm just a South Georgia boy. I don't see anybody starving right there. I don't see anybody desperately screaming that Israel's killing everybody. No, they're basically chanting in Arabic to kill Israel, to kill the Jews. But those poor, pitiful Gazan people tonight, man, it's a miracle, Ethel, that they have found monies and found ways to eat and get haircuts. Clean-cut guys, to me, look like didn't look like a bunch of poor dispositioned people. And folks, that's the lie. What's one of the lies we're going to deal with tonight is that the Gazan people are innocent in this. They're not innocent in this. Many of them, I would say 70 to 80% of the Gazan citizenry helped Hamas do what they did on October the 7th. And we need to establish that tonight. We need to establish the fact that Hamas started this war, not Israel. You need to write this down maybe somewhere. Maybe put it in the chat if you like. Miss Cleo, if you're out there tonight. Cleo's in the house with us tonight. Number one, Hamas started this war. Hamas started this war, not Israel. Not Israel. But if you listen to our media here in America, and I'm sure Al Jazeera tonight is doing the same thing. Here is a video that
the New York Times and CNN headlines today truly made me sick. Here's the New York Times proving that their sympathy and concern is more with U.S.-labeled terrorists than hostages who have been tortured for 2 years. And CNN's headline today says it's been 2 years since Israel launched its war in Gaza. No, it's been 2 years since Israel was attacked. Israel's defensive response came weeks later. CNN literally lies about these basic facts as the Gazan people have to be the victim in their one-sided narrative. Shame on CNN and the New York Times. You are literally fueling Jewish hatred worldwide.
Oh, they've been doing it. It ain't literally doing it. They've been doing it. But I got other folks that are doing it too. It's not just the New York Times and CNN. This is another good video we're going to play. Roll the tape. We're going to get to Candace and Tucker tonight. I've not talked about them, but it's Friday night, and we're going to let it all hang out tonight on this thing.
We have to destroy the idea of America in our heads, in our neighbors' heads, in our comrades' heads, in everybody's heads in this country.
We're looking at a Palestinian terror conference right here in the United States. That guy is openly saying destroy the idea of America, the Constitution, the White House, our democracy, all our statues, Congress, destroy everything that makes this country what it is. And he's doing it legally, using our free speech under our own laws. But wait till you see who's actually financing this conference. You're going to love this one.
One specific node of the F-35 supply chain is intervened in. It has a huge impact on our people back home.
You notice her American accent? She's talking about disrupting the United States military. She wants to help her people. Not Americans. No, she's talking about Hamas, terrorists. And let's be clear, this is not just free speech. She's engaging in espionage, sabotage. She's telling you to commit a federal crime, which carries 20 years to life in prison. Yet she's bragging about focusing on the F-35 program, which is America's top air defense system. Okay?
Look at this rooms, motherfuckers! We ain't going anywhere!
As long as you continue pushing, the dam will inevitably break.
You notice this little detail the speaker was using? NYC Democrat Socialists. They're supporting Mamdani as they're holding a workshop on how to disrupt America's supply chains. They're literally mapping global choke points. Okay?
I'm going to stop him and tell you this, folks, to your face. These same people that we're having to put trust in tonight to do the right thing, they don't care about the Gaza Strip. It's never been about the land. It's never been about Gaza. Never been about the Gazan people. They're wanting America, folks. The Jew haters out there that always have got this about being Israel's the evil government, Bibi's evil, the whole government of Israel's evil. See, this is the nature of Islam. This is the nature of this jihadist movement. We're chasing our backside tails, looking for reasons to blame Israel for the Gazan war, while they're basically gathering the same hatred and promoted. That Palestinian conference just was held last week of September, just a week, and they were free Palestine, free Palestine. Well, Palestine's been freed. Has there been any comment made by Rashida Tlaib congratulating President Trump on that? No, there's been silence. Because it never was about Gaza. It never was about Israel. It's not about Israel tonight, even though it is in many minds. It's not about them. They want the world. They just don't want that little piece of sliver of land that's not even the size of New Jersey, neighbor. They want the United States of America. And they want to destroy because they know we're the only thing standing in their way for the most part in Israel. The two nations that are standing in the way of that Islamic takeover of the entire world is Israel and the United States. They have pretty much made Israel the devil. They've convinced the media to demonize Israel. They've caused prophets and they've caused preachers and teachers and all these liberal pukes to call Israel evil. The world's been convinced of that. I think the way Gidon said it, and I love the way he said it, you know, Bibi is hated by people, and it's not for any other reason, folks, than just media propaganda. If you ask somebody, why is Bibi evil? We had somebody come on our page the other day. They can't tell you. Oh, he's just evil. He's just mean. He's just evil, and I know he's up to something, or he's the devil. He's 666. Can't tell you why. Can't tell you why they hate him. The lies just pour out of their mouth like filth coming out of a dog's mouth who's vomiting. And Christians accept it. Americans accept it. But you better understand this, and you better recognize this tonight, neighbor. It ain't Israel and the Gaza Strip they want. It's never been that. It's never been about the West Bank. Ultimately, it is about the control and the destruction of the entire Jewish nation and the entire United States of America. Their enemies are our enemies, folks. And when we embolden Israel's enemies, guess what's going to happen to us? Our enemies are going to be emboldened. It's happening tonight. I'm going to finish this up.
Mapping out warfare. This is not just free speech. They want to get Mamdani inside a New York mayor's office to destroy. This is literally, you're looking at the enemy from within. But wait till you see who's financing this.
Comrades, we come from a long legacy of people who have fought tooth and nail to take down these systems.
Now here's the money trail. Naval Singham, good old China agent, financing all of this. So now think about this. Palestinian Hamas supporters, U.S. woke leftists, you got the commies in China with CCP money, all working as a team under the guise of truth tellers, activism, patriotism. And then they call you and I the extremists for pointing it out. So here's my question for you. How long do we let this go on before we admit what's going on? They're not trying to fix America, okay? They're trying to replace it with Hamas, with Marxism, with CCP pulling the strings. They're telling you and me in our face, okay? Join me tonight at 8 p.m. EST.
We're not going to be joining you at 8 p.m., dude. We're joining here, but thank you for the little clip I could use. But folks, this was just last night in the Gaza Strip. They're still chanting "Kill to the Jews." And, you know, I have tried to be as optimistic as I can. I'm watching a lot of victory laps being taken. And I see a lot of comments out there on X. And look, folks, we need to thank President Trump for what he's done. And he should have got that Nobel Peace Prize today. He didn't. The lady down in Argentina did not Argentina, Venezuela. She was a freedom fighter against Maduro's regime. She's in hiding. She dedicated that Nobel Prize to President Trump tonight or today, but they've not gone anywhere. They've not gone anywhere. Here is, let's see, what do I want to do here? This is Jonathan Kahn. I want to talk about, we've talked about the world situation over there in the Middle East, and it's pretty intriguing. This is Montreal, Canada. I think this is the Amazon plan in San Francisco a few days ago. Yeah, this is the Amazon plan. By the way, that's not American flags, folks. That's not American flags. Sorry, I should have turned my mic up. I'm just going to have to just live with the echo. I keep forgetting to turn my mic up. That's the Amazon plant in Seattle, not San Francisco, Seattle. Praising Hamas just a few days ago. few days ago. What my point is it's not on the campuses, folks. It's not in the Middle East. It's in the streets and in the corporations and in the American landscape. It has come here. It has come here. It has come here. Why has it come here? Because you have liars. You have liars that are out there running their trap and saying all sorts of crazy, blank, dumb stuff. Like this one. Like this one. Roll tape.
Israel is the only country I know of that has some sort of incredible control over nearly every single one of my colleagues.
How did you find yourself in this place? Because
all right. Israel is the only one that has this absolute control over all of my constituents, all my colleagues. Let me tell you something, folks. Listen to me. I was going to do this today, and I didn't have time. I had to go visit a dear friend, my dear mentor, Betty Powell. She's in her 90s and not doing the best, and I felt led to go down and have lunch with her today, and we got back late. But we're going to do this next week. I'm going to put a list of statements that the Nazis made in the 1930s about the Jews. One of the statements, one of the conspiracy things, one of the big things that Jews are accused of doing is they were basically accused of controlling the banks, controlling the governments of the world, controlling the banks of the world, controlling the finances, controlling the education system, controlling everything. That they were subtly working behind the scenes to subvert governments. They were working behind the scenes to assassinate leaders. People are accusing Israel of killing Charlie Kirk. People are accusing Israel of doing a lot of things. They're even accusing Erica Kirk of being a Israel honeypot. They've accused Erica Kirk of killing her own husband as a arm of Mossad. That's what they're accusing her. I'll play you the video. You think I'm making it up. But that statement right there, me off. Because I'm going to tell you something. It's no different. It's no different. It's coming from Marjorie Taylor Greene. By the way, she's the same MTG tonight that is claiming that Obamacare is good. She blames the Republicans for the shutdown. It's the same MTG that has lost her natural-born mind. There's something about this anti-Semitic spirit. When you adhere to it and you embrace it, it starts opening you up to other spirits. She's just plain gone insane. This is a member of Congress on the Republican side. This ain't even a crazy loon left.
stop voting for funding for the Israel war?
Yeah, it was easy for me. I'm a business owner. If you're an Israeli citizen, you have government-funded health care and you have government-funded college. If they're doing so great and they're funding health care and college, why is dead broke America having to spend $3.8 billion? I've turned radically and unapologetically for America. Just flat out for America.
Okay. I've turned flat out for America. Well, MTG, let me ask you a question. If Israel goes down, do you think these Arab nations are going to give two bit pins about America? Are you literally telling me because you're going full-fledged for America that we have to betray our only friend in the Middle East to do that? We don't. I think it's just the other way around myself from a spiritual standpoint, but being that you don't have a spiritual bone in your body, I guess you don't. I don't want to play the rest of that. It's about 6 seconds. That's member of Congress. That's the attitude of many people tonight, that the Jews control the health care, the Jews control the money. That's what Hitler called them. That's what Hitler convinced the world that they did. The Nazis convinced the world they did. The Nazis convinced them the protocols of the elders of Zion. If you've been with us in our conferences out there, we talk about the protocols of elders of Zion all the time. I think it was Brad last night. It was Brad and James both this week, but Brad especially. You dehumanize a group of people. You put crap in people's head about a group of people. Before long, folks, even the most solid Christian that you think's got solid faith, you'll start listening to stuff. I've heard it this week from people that I never dreamed it would come out of their mouth, that they believe this stuff. And they're dear. I know them. I love them. And I'm not going to argue with them. But my mouth was open in shock that people would believe this very thing that she just said. And again, folks, that's not some left-wing 22-year-old punk kid with acne wearing a Free Palestine sign. That's Margie Taylor Greene of Congress. And that spirit has infested Congress. Here is Tucker on the Jews. Roll the tape. Roll the tape.
I think Bibi is completely evil and completely destructive. And he's hurting the United States, and he's destroying his own country.
All right. He's hurting the United States, and he's destroying his own country. Did Bibi start October the 7th, Tuck? Did Bibi, what has Bibi done to destroy his own country? What has Bibi done to destroy the United States? I got news for you, Tucker. The United States is doing enough to itself to destroy itself. It don't need Bibi Netanyahu to do it. It don't need the Jewish devil and the demons to do it. No, we're doing enough in our own backyard that we don't need the Jews to destroy us. You ignorant wretches, I swear. If you only knew how demonic you sound and how wicked you sound saying stuff like that. And folks, this is not a praise Bibi Netanyahu show tonight. Bibi Netanyahu needs to have a lot of credit given to him for having to withstand this 2 years. He's been fighting a war on 8 different fronts. But in Tucker's world, that's evil and that's wicked, and he's destroying his nation. I want Tucker to answer one question. What does he think would happen if there was another leader in Israel that capitulated to these killers on those 8 fronts and did not do anything to defend Israel? Israel would be wiped off the map in a political sense. It's not going to happen because of God, but the Arab world would salivate to have a weak leader, to have a Joe Biden in Israel. I wonder if that would please Tucker. I wonder if that would please Margie Taylor Greene. I wonder if that would please Candace Owens tonight, and on Stu Peters and all these other demonic wretches that say this stuff. Some of you are thinking it tonight in my show, because I know you are, because my counter always goes up and down after these shows like this. It goes up and then boom, back down. We know where Chris stands on this, because we're going to say adios, because we just think Bibi's the devil. We had a lady get into it with us on our page 2 days ago. Couldn't tell me why, but Bibi's the devil. Bibi's the devil. He's evil. He's evil. Where do you think people are getting this crap from? Influencers like this. Roll tape.
And I think he imperils the world. Okay, so I think that clearly.
He imperils the world. Tucker, where have you been for the last 2 years? Listening to Mick Jagger music and sticking meth up your nose? Who has imperiled the world, Tuck? Who killed 1,200 Israelis? Bibi Netanyahu? Who murdered and raped children? Who put babies in ovens? Was that Bibi Netanyahu? No, it was not. It was not.
Blow up Al-Aqsa Mosque. I believe that. On the Temple Mount to build the third temple, and then you've got global war. So, he's a threat. But am I madder at him or Lindsey Graham?
So that's the catch. This is about people like Lindsey Graham. I'm no fan of Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham's my neighbor. But Tucker wants to make this about, again, he's basically saying the same thing that Margie Taylor Greene's saying. They control Congress. He's basically saying that this Israeli lobby controls Congress, and now he's going to bring it down to the politicians.
It's not even close.
I was going to mention.
Bibi Netanyahu is a foreigner. He's trying to do what he thinks he should do for himself and his country. I get that. What's Lindsey Graham's excuse? What's Ted Cruz's excuse? Ted Cruz says right in the camera, I was elected. My main goal was to help Israel.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
Came into Congress with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate. And I've worked every day to do that.
Really, Ted? How does she get elected on a platform?
It's amazing to me,
What
folks.
did you say publicly? My main goal is to help enough.
Listen to me. Is there any outrage in Tucker's mouth about Elon Omar, Rashid Tlaib, Ariana Presley, and all the Muslim members in Congress that are working to undermine the Constitution of the United States, but yet his issue is with Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz because they support our only ally? Can somebody explain that to me? I don't know what's going on with Tuck. I don't know what's going on with MTG. And I sure don't know what's going on with Candace Owens. Speaking of Candace has been posted some weird stuff. Just some weird stuff. She said Charlie came to her in a dream the other night. Roll the tape.
October 7th, which, by the way, the IDF mysteriously elected to pull their troops away from the border.
Well, I won. They did not pull their troops away from the border. What happened was there was an attack in the West Bank 2 days before, and the troops that were along the Gaza Strip had to go into Jerusalem, had to go into the West Bank on October the 5th, folks. Who maybe orchestrated that? Who do you think maybe orchestrated an attack in the West Bank to pull the Israeli troops off the Gaza Strip? Do you think Israel did that, Candace? Are you saying that Israel attacked itself on October the 5th? This is completely the nonsense that people are listening to, folks. This lady's got millions of followers.
On that day. October 7th.
No, Candace, troops weren't pulled from the border in Gaza on October 7th. On October 5th, 100 troops were taken from that area and put in the West Bank because of a shooting that had happened earlier. There were a normal amount of soldiers on that border, but on October 7th, those soldiers were unaware that Hamas had infiltrated and were at their bases and massacred them in droves. Over 300 soldiers were killed in their bases and fighting for their people. It is unbelievable to me that people will listen to this woman who shares incredible Jew hatred and spreads horrendous lies and blood libels. This woman is not a journalist. She is a modern-day Nazi.
I tend to agree with that. Nazi. We just throw that word around. Roll the tape. Oh, this is not a tape. Morgan Ariel posted this yesterday. In all this, today is the 1 month anniversary of Charlie Kirk's killing. So Candace Owens says she had a prophetic dream over the weekend, last weekend, where Charlie Kirk visited her and told her that he had been betrayed. Folks, what you may or may not know, they believe she's literally pushing the idea, along with the October the 7th was a setup, that Israel killed Charlie Kirk. That's what people are saying. And John Paul Jones said that's wild because Charlie also appeared to me in a dream and told me that Candace is lying. That Candace is lying. Now, I'm not doing these videos, folks, to get you to hate these people. I don't hate them. I'm not too big a fan of what they're saying. What I'm trying to show you is that the lies against Israel are not stopping just because there's a ceasefire. And they're not going to stop. This is not a calling out show. I'm not calling out Candace. I'm not calling out Tucker. I'm not calling out MTG. There's more I would love to call out beside them, trust me. Stu Peters is one of the most vilest anti-Semitic voices on X, and I've had guests that have bounced in this show in the past, and I have found out they have been spreading anti-Semitism, and they're no longer going to be on this network ever. Ever. Hell will freeze over before they ever darken the door of this show ever again. We will not have anyone that is spreading such vile anti-Semitism. We're just not going to do it. And, it is what it is. But if I have to have a show every night by myself, I'll do it. My point in all this is simple tonight. The lies have not stopped. And it's coming from so many different directions. It's coming from within our government. It's coming from social media influencers. It's coming from the media. CNN tonight basically is out there claiming that Israel started this war. I got to get my glasses on. I'm going to post something I don't want to put up there. This is, where is that little thing that I had that shows that? I had a, here is the CNN headline right here. This is the CNN headline right here. This is from Kathy Senator Katie Boyd Britt down in Alabama. She says, absolutely insane article by CNN where they say Israel started the war. Tell that to the people of Israel, who just over 2 years ago on October the 7th were murdered, raped, and kidnapped after Hamas invaded Israel. This is why people don't trust legacy media. They don't trust any media, Katie. They don't trust any media. And by the way, let me go back to Tucker, Candace, and MTG and Stu. If you want to listen to them and embrace them, we're not going to get mad at you. You know, you go right ahead and do what you want to do. Listen to who you want to listen to, clowns. Listen to the clowns if you want to. Listen to that stuff and embrace that. Feed on that. Feed your spirit with all that. Feed yourself with all that stuff. Get that in your head. Let that stuff just influence you and make you just so on board and so woke to Israel and so woke to the demonic nature of Israel. Let it get you just so consumed. And I'm going to let you deal with the ramifications and the consequences of that. We're trying to warn you here. We've been trying to keep you off a cliff on this network for months, for years, for 2 years. We've lost friends, folks. I've lost dear family over this matter. Definitely lost some audience. But you know I'm at peace at night. I lay on my bed at night and I go to bed at peace knowing that I'm on the right side of this. And see, the thing about these anti-Semitic voices is they're not sure they're on the right side of it. Because people always send me this stuff trying to convince me that they're right. And when somebody starts trying to convince me they're right, it's likely they're not. I'm not trying to convince you I'm right. I'm telling you what is the truth. Now, you can listen to it or you don't have to. You can listen to this other garbage. You can embrace this. You can take a deep breath and inhale. As Bill Clinton said he did. I didn't inhale, but you can inhale it. And let it do to you what it's doing to many people. And I'm watching this. I'm watching Margie Taylor Greene literally disintegrate into one of the most insane, deranged individuals. And you know, she was the right's darling back during the time of 2020 and 21 and 22. She was the right wing's darling poster child. She was on all these shows. She was on all the Twitter handles. She was the hero of the right. She was the hero of the MAGA community. And because she's turned against Israel now, and that's what she has, listen to what she's doing now. She is betraying her own party. She's betraying Trump in many ways because she's basically blaming the Republicans and him for the shutdown. You can't open the door to this stuff, folks, without other things going on and other spirits coming in and controlling your mind. You just can't do it. Look at the headline. In the 2 years since Israel launched its war in Gaza, and life in the enclave has never been harder. Did that video I showed you a while ago, did it look like life was harder to you? They're dancing in the streets. I tell you what, those people that were saying kill the Jews last night, that kabar, hey Yehud, it didn't look like things were that hard. It looked like they were rejoicing, thinking, hey, we're going to take a little vacation. They're going to kick us out of here, but we'll be back. We'll be back. Chris amen himself. I'll amen myself tonight. It's a late night Friday. Listen to who you want to listen to. Listen to who you want to listen to. This is Let me put one or two more videos up. I want you to listen to Jonathan Cahn. I don't agree with everything Jonathan Cahn says sometimes, but I thought this was a pretty decent explanation about the Star of David, because it's another thing that Candace likes to always accuse the Jews of being the Star of David, and I've heard Tucker say it. I don't know if I've heard MTG say it. I've heard religious voices talk about. I've heard radio hosts claim that this is some kind of a cultic Star Rephaim, not realizing even what the Star. If you was to ask them where the Star Rephaim references in the Bible, they can't even tell you. It's one passage in Acts, but they couldn't tell you what that means. If it meant their life, they wouldn't even be able to tell you what it really means. It goes back to the Babylonian kingdom and their captivity. And the Star of David goes back to the time of David. It doesn't go back to 1948. But again, let's not worry about biblical truth. Let's just throw anti-Semitic slurs out about Israel. Here's Jonathan Cahn. Interesting video.
It makes no sense. Let's look at the third quote.
they're even lying about the history of the Star of David. It's a hexagram. It's a cult. You can't just wipe that away. It's not even a long time ago. There's tons of books that show you that that's a hexagram. What are you pretending? It's a cultic.
Okay, so now Candace Owens is accusing Israel of being a cult nation. Who talks like that about any other nation? Not China, that has oppressed and killed millions of its own people in the name of godlessness. Not North Korea, which is a national death camp. Not all the other dictatorships that kill their people, but tiny little Israel. She may not know the difference between the word.
I want to stop it right there. He makes an excellent point. I encourage any of you, if you can find MTG, Candace or Tucker, Stu Peters. The names are coming up out of my mouth, and I'm keeping my hand on my mouth. But if you can find any of these anti-Semitic voices out there, and folks, I know that I don't use that word lightly. I know that not everything that's said that's a disagreement with policy is anti-Semitic. This is anti-Semitic. When you start saying the Jews are of the devil, they control the world, they control the finances, they're killing Charlie Kirk, they're infiltrating our government, and that was that video of Tucker. When you start doing that gets into the realm of anti-Semitism. I was told that Stu Peters wasn't anti-Semitic the other night by somebody, and I wanted to just basically choke on my shirt. And it was coming up out of my mouth, and I had to grab my mouth. And I want to say, are you joking me? Have you not listened to this man? But he makes a good point. They don't never talk about these other regimes that are truly killing their people. I never hear them talk about Hamas. I never hear them talking about the Arab world a bit. I don't hear them talking about any of these dictators, China, North Korea, Iran. Never hear any word about that. That's a great point, John. May not agree with everything you say, but I agree with you on this. Roll the
Cult
tape.
and occults. But I digress. I've had relatives in Israel who are children of the Holocaust survivors. They're involved in a cult. There are Messianic Jewish believers, Christians, believers in Jesus throughout Israel, as in the book of Acts. They're involved in a cultic nation. What lunacy. But it's because she doesn't like the Star of David. Here's a conspiracy theory alert. She says because it's a cultic symbol, it's a hexagram. Well, first of all, the word hexagram has nothing to do with the word hex as in occult. That comes from the German word in the 19th century. Hexagram comes from the Greek hexa, which simply means six. It's a six-pointed star. So you just discovered that the six-pointed Star of David is a six-pointed star. It's a simple, basic shape that's been around in the world for ages. And it's in Jewish tradition as well, associated with David and Solomon. And for that matter, the symbol of the cross and versions of the cross have been around since ancient times because it's another basic symbol. It's been in pagan cultures in Babylon, India, Egypt. What does that mean? Does it mean that Christianity is occultic? Of course not. It's all nonsense. But you know what really is occultic? And you could accuse all the nations by this logic that have a five-pointed star on their flag, which is the outline of the pentagram, and the pentagram is used in Satan worship. Wait, would that mean that America and China and Cuba and Venezuela are all part of a cultic thing? Well, what does it mean? Of course it doesn't mean that. What does it mean? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What does Owen's charge mean? Absolutely nothing. Just as most of what she says regarding any of these things, except that it's anti-Israel, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Remember something. The devil is an accuser. He's a liar. Diabolos. He's the one who slanders. So if he's trying to destroy the Jewish people, what would we expect him to do? We'd expect Israel and the Jewish people to become the most slandered, vilified, lied about people in human history, and that's exactly what happened. The charges don't even make sense. The charges contradict each other.
And they do. Well done, Jonathan Kahn. By the way, folks, the reason I brought this picture up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Candace needs to go back to kindergarten where they taught her to count. The Jewish star is actually 6 points. It's 6. In fact, let's see, I've got it right here. I got it behind me. But you know, I'll just go ahead and show you this right here. If I can find it, I just had it because I wanted to show it. There's a. There it is. I'll just do it right here. Here's a good one. He who watches over is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if we need to draw this in crayon for Miss Jones, and I'm not trying to be funny tonight, and when some folks listen to me, I want to make it clear, this is not some call-out show. I'm not calling anybody out. These people have got a right to believe this crap, but they do not have a right to claim it as truth. Let me change that. They guess they do have a right, but I've got a right to proclaim myself what's truth. Now, what happens is whoever listens to this has got to ask themselves a question. Sort of like Clint Eastwood in the old Clint Eastwood movies, do you feel lucky, punk? If you want to listen and believe the Candace Owens and the Tucker Carlsons and the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Steve Peters of this world, you know some folks, you're welcome to do that. You're welcome to do that. If you want to listen to somebody that's trying to explain to you that Israel has a role in the plan of God, you can do that too. It's not about relevance. No, this has gone way beyond her trying to become relevant. No, Candace Owens has basically declared war on the Jewish state, and nobody can explain why. But I just want you to see the difference in the two stars. So when you hear your anti-Semitic buddies tell you that Israel's Star of David is demonic, it's occultic, and they try to tie it into the same thing as the satanic star, please remind them. Well, the satanic symbol is 5, Israel is 6. By the way, it does go back to the time of David. It goes back to the time of David and Solomon. The Star of Rephaim reference in Acts 7 has nothing to do with the Star of David today. It has reference to do with the fact that Israel was worshiping the stars in the heavens because the Babylonians did that. They had been taken into captivity by Babylon. For all you Bible students out there that are with us every morning, and get your mind filled with something called the Word of God instead of a mind full of mush, listening to these nonsensical worms out there. And I hate to be so blunt about it tonight. It is a late night Friday night. We passed the midnight hour, honey. It's all. I'm glad you're up with me tonight. We letting it all hang out on this late night. You can fill your mind with this mush, or you can fill your mind with the Word of God. It's up to you. I keep saying that over and over tonight, folks. It is up to you what you want to listen to. By the way, the one that watches over Israel's listening to all this. Trust me on that. That's why I'm being very, very careful of what I'm saying to you, because I want to tell you the truth. By the way, this was, we got other things to talk about tonight. Real quick before we get off of this. We haven't really mentioned this, but Letitia James has been indicted. Maybe I need to do that. I do want to play one other video. And we're going to look at a few memes, and then I'm going to talk about Letitia James here for a few minutes.
The whole issue of whether or not the settlements in Judea and Samaria are somehow or another going to destroy Israel or not is not about demography, and it's not about peace. It's about civil rights. It's about Jewish civil rights. What they are saying essentially is that Jews should not be allowed to live there just because they're Jews. Now, why should Jews be allowed to live in London, live in Germany, live in San Francisco, but not be allowed to live in Judea? Why? And in Jerusalem? Where does this come from? They want to talk so much about Palestinian rights. Let's talk about Jewish rights for a second. You're saying that you so support a Palestinian state that is going to be inherently bigoted and that Jews aren't allowed to even live there, that they have to all be ethnically cleansed first before these people can even deign to accept sovereignty. What kind of state do you want to establish? What kind of nonsense is this? This is a racket. This is a racket. Jews don't have civil rights. We're not allowed to live wherever we have property rights to build just because we're Jewish? And this is a moral argument? This is a reasonable argument? This is establishing what exactly? A state based upon ethnic purity? This is where we've come?
And that's where we've come. Very good defense of Israel. There's more to that, but it's a little bit too long. The war, folks, is not over. Here's a video letting you know that this is not over by any stretch. That's Montreal, Canada. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine.
That was And we're back. Sorry for that. I don't know who's out there and who ain't at this point, but if you are in the house, you're welcome to put your questions. That was part one. We're back for part two, and sorry about that. Internet issues. There we go. There we go. There we go. Nobody got a strike. It's internet issues, folks. Hamas, this is the headline today in the New York Times that goes along with the CNN issue. Hamas takes a big risk and deal to release hostages. Ron DeSantis was responding to Drew Holden's quote, "Did Hamas write this?" or the New York Times, and Ron DeSantis says, "I didn't realize there was a difference." There's not. There's not. By the way, I want to read this to you. This is a good one tonight. Sorry, you do not like the war you started. History of conflicts in the land of Israel since 1948. You might want to take a screenshot of this. 1948, the Arab-Israel War. Who started it? The nations on the left. Who was attacked? Israel. 1948 to 1967, the Fedayeen War. The 1967 Six-Day War. The 1967 and 1970 War of Attrition, the 1973 Yom Kippur War, 50 years later, the 2023 attack. Who was attacked on that right side? Israel, 1971 to 1982, the Palestinian insurgency in South Lebanon, the 1985 to 2000 South Lebanon conflict, which led to the Second Intifada. The First Intifada began in 1987 to 1993. Ariel Sharon visited the Temple Mount, and from 2000 to 2005, Yasser Arafat launched the Second Intifada, the Palestinian Authority, and Hamas. The 2006 Lebanon War, where Israel was falsely accused of starting that war. Lebanon started it. Hezbollah started it. The 2008 Gaza War was basically based upon Iranian Hamas. When you see the Iranian symbol there, folks, that's their proxies of Hamas in the region. The 2012 Israel-Gaza operation that Israel had to go in and clean the Gaza out in 2012, started by Iran. The 2014 Gaza war was started by Iran. The Israeli-Palestinian crisis that basically started 2016 through 2020 or so, and in 2023, the Israel-Hamas war, Hamas started the war. And this brings me to my point tonight as I'm wrapping this up. This has been the clown show in the Middle East. This has absolutely been the clown show. Let's attack Israel. We will have a total victory from the river to the sea, 1948. Let's attack Israel and we'll have a total victory from the river to the sea in 1967. They said the same thing. Let's attack Israel. We will have a total victory from the river to the sea in 73. And 2023, let's attack Israel. We will have a total victory from the river to the sea. The Arab world has failed every time, folks, but they've done it. Every single war that Israel has fought since her reformation has never been started by her. It has always been her enemies that have attacked her. Now, that is a fact of history. If people want to try to twist that and claim history don't exist, that's up to them. But that's the history of the Middle East. That's the history of the Middle East. And that is something that you can't play with. I don't care what Candace Owens says. I don't care what Tucker Carlson says. I don't care what Stu Peters says. I don't care what several other folks say. Saw this tonight, thought this was good. All you that have spent 2 years screaming ceasefire, why aren't you celebrating the ceasefire? Because it was never about peace, folks. This has never been about peace. It's never been about saving lives, as the media's claim it has been, as and the ex-people that hate Israel claim it's about. The left is claiming about it. The right's claiming it's about peace, saving lives. It was always about demonizing Israel. Still is. You didn't stand for peace. You stood against the Jews. We see you, every single one of you. And believe me, our people have long memories. This is from a Jewish X account. We remember who stood with us and who stood against us when it mattered most. The Israeli people know that tonight, folks. Let me tell you this. I may have said this the other night. I've got Jewish friends. They're not oblivious to what's being said over here in this country by our leaders and these social media people. They're not oblivious to it. They're not oblivious to it. They see it. It's hurtful. It's hurtful. And the same people that were screaming for Israel to stop, now they've stopped and now they've pulled back. All they're doing is continuing the lies. That's all they're doing is continuing the lies. As far as I'm concerned tonight, the only thing that matters is this right here. It's these 20 hostages that I pray come home Monday. Now, I've not had a chance to talk about too much other than this week because of the fluidness of the situation. But I do want to play one video about Letitia James, because this is Letitia.
Right, Scott?
Well, the implication that I don't support the Constitution that you made notwithstanding.
I did not say that.
Excuse me, being an
He's
original.
just famous for being a constitutional originalist.
Here's what I think. If Democrats like Slotkin are going to come out today and whine about selective prosecutions over Tish James, her entire career is built on the selective prosecution of one man. Now, I also believe what Elliot said. There's a process here. Everybody gets their day in court. Obviously, a grand jury saw enough evidence to bring charges. We don't know what they are, but a grand jury looked at this and says, okay, there's something here. She gets to go to court just like Comey, just like anyone else. But to me, it's just not going to fly to boo-hoo over selective prosecutions on this particular person who promised in her campaigns, who went after him on things, as Jonah said, that had no business ever happening, if not but for the man's last name being Trump. So I'm not going to.
How is that not a two wrongs make a right argument?
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying she gets her day in court. I'm saying a grand jury.
Two wrongs make a right, Jonas? Are you freaking kidding me? It's amazing these same CNN panelists, they were jumping up like apes over the fact when Letitia James went after Trump, they thought it was great. But now all of a sudden, two wrongs make a right. I don't consider it that. I think it's nothing but Matthew 7:1, neighbor. Matthew 7:1-3. For those of you that don't know that verse, you might want to look it up.
Saw enough evidence to bring charges, and I'm saying she gets to go to court and tell her side of the story, and then we'll see what happens. But I'm just arguing the political debating issue here. Democrats are going to say, this is the first time we've ever had somebody go down the road of selective prosecutions.
And it's
on
not.
Her? Yeah. Give me a break.
No, I agree with that. The one thing.
Yeah, well, they went to a grand jury. They showed them evidence. A grand jury decided to bring charges, just like in the case of Comey. And in both cases, they'll get to go to court and have their day in court. And we'll see if the evidence ever makes it to a jury of their peers. Look, I mean, Letitia James is the absolute worst possible poster child for the argument of selective prosecution. Her entire political career has been on the idea of selectively prosecuting one person, Donald J. Trump. Whether you think the merits of the case are strong or weak, or how you think it's going to play out, going out tonight and crying and whining and fussing about selective prosecution when it comes to Letitia James, who ran an entire campaign saying she was going to go after Trump. The cases she brought, it was only because of Trump.
I don't think the American people are going to have too much sympathy for it. But she'll get to go to court. She'll get to make her arguments, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
She tried to bankrupt him. She tried to ruin his life and try to make it so he couldn't run for president.
So what are we going to do?
She brought forward a case that she thought was meritorious, and it was found
Thank
that
God.
it
By the
was
way,
meritorious.
She brought a case that was meritorious. Well, guess what? Miss CNN, the grand jury heard the evidence, and the district attorney, the U.S. attorney in Eastern Virginia, looked at the merits of this case and felt like they should bring it against her. Isn't it amazing to y'all how this Democrat outrage, don't it just make you laugh? Don't it just make you laugh that when it's done to them, these people can dish this crap out. They just can't take it. I know a lot of folks like that. They can dish it out, but boy, when they start getting it back, ooh, they don't like it too much. They don't like it too much. All I got to say is let the wheels of justice take care of this. But I have no sympathy for Letitia James tonight. And what she did was vindictive. It was not about the law. It was nothing more than her making a promise to her constituents, I'm going to get Trump, and she did. And now the same noose, the same crime, folks, I hate to use that, I shouldn't have used the word noose, but I'll just say the same crime, folks, not just any crime, the very same thing that she charged President Trump with that he didn't do, she's now been charged with it. Let the justice wheels chime. Let the justice wheels chime. Our government shut down tonight. Here is Mike Johnson on that, and I'm going to take your questions. Roll the tape.
A very patient guy, but I have had it with these people. They're playing games with real people's lives. The theory we have right now, they have a Hate America rally that's scheduled for October 18th on the National Mall. It's all the pro-Hamas wing and the Antifa people. They're all coming out. Some of the House Democrats are selling T-shirts for the event, and it's being told to us that they won't be able to reopen the government until after that rally because they can't face their rabid base. I mean, this is serious business hurting real people. And I'm beyond words. I can't believe they're actually doing this.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, you're talking about that No Kings rally. Real quickly before we move on to another topic.
And that's Mike Johnson. Elaine, we addressed the four horsemen actually this week in the Bible study. We've addressed that. We've addressed that often. Red, white, green, and black. And yes, every flag on that chart right there have got those colors, and we talked about what I believe that had to deal with. I think John saw in the spirit realm. It was that vision of those four horsemen was in the spirit realm, and I think it's the spirit of Islam on this earth in these last days. And I think that the Islamic religion is going to play a role in this coming thing with the Antichrist that's on the scene very shortly. I think I'm going to save this other video for our Faith Network and our Bible study. There was something that Kathy sent to me tonight that somebody had put out claiming that this peace treaty or this ceasefire agreement is somehow the covenant of Daniel 9, 24, 25, 26, 27. I want to just put everybody's fear to rest and put all the crazy doctrine to rest and put all the crazy theory to rest. Number one, Jared Kushner's not the Antichrist. So it can't be that covenant. Steve Wyckoff, not the Antichrist. Can't be that covenant. Because they're not from Syria. Donald Trump's not the Antichrist. So this can't be that covenant. It's not a covenant yet. There's no covenant signed, folks. There's no peace treaty signed. This is a ceasefire. There's a 21.6 peace plan. There's a plan that is going to try to keep the two sides from killing each other. That's in place. This is not the covenant of Daniel 9. The rapture has not occurred. That's another reason why this is not that covenant. Another thing that you need to understand is that the Syria of the Bible, when it says Syria, it really is the Assyrian Empire. The Syria today is Assyria of the Old Covenant that includes Iraq, Iran, and Syria. It's amazing that none of those nations are involved in this. There was rumors that the Syrian president has given overtures to Trump about these Abrahamic Accords. I got to tell you that the Abrahamic Accords are not going to fly because there's provision in there for a Palestinian state. Now, that may be adjusted after all this, that's taken out. But I do not believe the Abrahamic Accords are going to be the covenant of Daniel 9. And I'm saying that to you Bible folks that are listening to people claim that this is. I knew it would happen, and it is happening. The QAnon influence of the church is being resurrected. There's a lot of these YouTube channels. We looked at our channel that got taken down. They told us we're not coming back. Of course, I wasn't pushing the Q stuff. Probably back in 2018, 2019, we had some guests on here that believed in it. But I think when I saw what it was for, I removed myself from that group immediately. And we don't push those things here. This ain't the network for that. You're in the wrong dojo if that's what you push. But I want to put that to rest tonight. That none of this that's going on, folks, is anything that is the fulfillment of anything biblically, other than it is preparing the world for a bigger play like this down the road, and it is pushing Israel closer to God. We talked about that this morning on the Bible study. You need to come to the Bible studies in the morning. But we did talk about the 4 horsemen and the colors on those horses. And so forth. Let's see here if we can connect back to X. They've cut us off on X tonight for some reason. Diana, you're happy to hear Jared Kushner ain't the Antichrist? He never was the Antichrist, Diana. He never was. That shouldn't have even been a worry. He wasn't. He wasn't. And he's not. Neither is Trump. Neither is Trump. Poor Jared, he never gets credit and always vilified. That is true, Cleo. That is true. Now, I'm going to read some of your comments and questions. Tonight. Let's see here. Stephen, MTG may get primaried. She keeps doing this. She's going to get primary. Maria Corinne Machado is the lady's name tonight. That was the 2025 winner, thank you, Cleo, of the Nobel Peace Prize. She dedicated that in honor of President Trump, and that was very sweet of her, very honorable of her to do that. And that was nice of her. Trump was not going to win that. They just were not going to do that. Zella says this is the same tactics used on or used in Iraq and Nazi Germany. Communist students then in Har. Yep, some of that. Let's see here. Any other questions, statements tonight? Diane, I'm sure you were saying that tongue-in-cheek, and it is tongue-in-cheek. There's a lot of comments over on Facebook tonight, and I will come back over here. Roger's talking about the cases of Comey and James are not going to bring the result that's deserved. Possibly, Roger, we'll say, that's the whole... I'm not going to disagree. I mean, I wouldn't be putting a lot of faith in any of it, but I just pray our justice system plays out. I think, Roger, I will tell you this. The chances of that, of what you're saying, is probably likely if they hold these cases in D.C. and that Eastern District of Virginia and that area up in there, that is a possibility. But if the attorney generals or whoever, not attorney generals, but the U.S. attorneys can be successful in getting these trials moved out of that domain to a neutral site, I think that chance goes down that they don't get justice. That is something that's sort of an unbearable. That's a variable in this. It's where the trial's held. They're not going to get a fair trial either way in D.C. Pat, you're absolutely right. Even the bank was satisfied with how Trump met his obligations. That's exactly right. Corey, you said that you're. Corey says, I've got this dread that sleeper cells will be activated. Corey, there's a story out tonight. We hadn't talked about it. China, President Trump has canceled his meeting with Xi, and he made a statement today in Breitbart that the Chinese have become very hostile to us. There's a 100% tariff increase coming. Markets took a beating today, and I know that firsthand. The markets took a beating today, and but he is going to tariff China into the Chinese Sea. He's not playing around. But our enemies, it's like I said a while ago, look, folks, the very people that perpetrated this act on Israel on October the 7th, they are, they're not going nowhere. And they are wanting to do that here. And our enemies are still out there. These sleeper cells are real. Corey, we've let them in for the last 4 years, not actually the last, before Trump, 4 years before Trump. There ain't telling how many cells are in here, thanks to that. I hopefully and prayerfully that this purge that Holman is making, getting these illegals out of here, has maybe made the country a little bit safer. But your concern is well warranted, my friend. It's good to see you tonight. Really, really is. Yeah, Northern Virginia, Roger, is deep blue. It is. It definitely is. Liz Goldman, good to see you. Hadn't seen you in a while. You said, I wonder what the new chant will be. Can't use Free Palestine anymore. Yeah, they can, Liz. They will. That's what they were saying in Montreal last night. They're still wanting to free Palestine. And Palestine's free tonight. But it goes back. Let me read this again. This was the HI Israel website. And I want to read this again, Liz, to your point. Because I think this sums it up. I think what they said here sums up this whole dishonest, lying attitude about all of this. All that has spent the last 2 years, and Rashida Tlaib, the left, the Democrats, all these voices on X that think Israel's the devil, and Tucker and Candace and Margie and Stu and all these other names. Oh, Israel's evil, and if they would just stop killing these kids and starving these kids, they're killing and starving, and we need a ceasefire. America needs to stop Israel from doing this. Well, they got their wish. We did. Those folks ain't even celebrating the ceasefire. Because, see, it was never about peace. These Free Palestine people that are still doing it tonight, they don't care about freeing Palestine. Some of these kids, some of these people marching can't even explain to you why it's called Palestine. They can't tell you where Palestine is. They probably couldn't even tell you where Israel's at. By the way, I want to show you something tonight, folks. I forgot, it reminded me about this right here that was very intriguing. You talking about educating our kids, and you're talking about why people believe the mess they do? This is the National Education Association, the largest union in the United States. They just sent out a map to all of its members where Israel doesn't exist on that map. They call it Palestine. Look at that. That's from the Jews Fight Back website at X. In its place, Palestine in Arabic, that covers the entire land from the river to the sea, they erased the only Jewish country in the entire world. That's their vision. That's done by the National Education Association of America, that basically controls what your kids read and what your kids and mine learn, at least in public school. That's what they're teaching our kids. And what they're saying here is right. It was never about lives. It's never about peace. It was always about demonizing and destroying and lying and slandering Israel. That's what it's all been about. You don't stand for peace. All you do is, all these people have done is stand against the Jews. There's nothing positive. If you listen to these voices, they never have anything positive to say about anything. It's always against. Nothing positive about Israel. Nothing Israel's done is right. Nothing Israel has done to stave off these wars has been right. It's always been her fault for everything. And she is being blamed for the death of Charlie Kirk tonight, a month later. She's being blamed for the death of Charlie Kirk, even a month later. Even a month later. Interesting stuff. Let's see, I saw Elaine's comment. I've already dealt with her comment there. And then let's see here. What else? Psalms 121. I like this. He that watches over Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. I like that. And he will not. Chris Davis, good to see you tonight. He says the anti-Semitism is at a World War II level, or even worse. We're truly living in wicked times, the times of sorrow. Well, we're on the precipice of those, Chris. We're in the birth pains. We're in the birth pains. We're definitely in the birth pains. And Elaine, you're right. Bibi was, him and his brother both. His brother was killed in Munich during the Munich raid on Entebbe, Uganda. The raid on Entebbe, I should say, not Munich, but the raid on Entebbe when Idi Amin and that plane of the hostages was diverted. They hijacked the plane and they landed that plane in Entebbe, Uganda. I visited, I've been there, flew into that airport back in 1994, went to Uganda. Very first time I'd ever left the country, been overseas, was in Entebbe, Uganda, Kampala. But, yeah, his brother was killed in that raid, and Bibi, that's where Bibi became sort of his roots were in that time. Folks, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Bibi Netanyahu, he's not a perfect man. No more than Donald Trump is. No more than any leader is, folks. There's Malaya in Argentina. I respect him. Meloni in Italy. Respect her. Those are very few conservative leaders. We got the Japanese prime minister, this conservative, is in trouble tonight because her government, there's been a break in the Japanese government, the parliament, and there's possibility, even though she got elected by the people, she may not even be able to take power now. There's just a war on conservative leaders in this world. There just is. But as far as I'm concerned, and by the way, this is a little footnote of history. When Ariel Sharon gave the Gaza Strip away to the Palestinians, basically, and he gave that strip of land away, he had a finance minister that resigned over it in 2005. You want to know who that finance minister was? Because he told Sharon, this is going to be disastrous for Israel. You don't need to do this. Sharon didn't listen to him. He listened to George W. Bush Jr. and the pressure of the United States. You know who that finance minister was? It was none other than Bibi Netanyahu. He was in Ariel Sharon's cabinet when all this first started, when they first gave up this Gaza territory. Egypt didn't even want it back, folks. They offered it to Egypt in 1979 during the Carter years when Menachem Begum and Anwar Sadat. It cost Anwar Sadat his life because Anwar Sadat dealt with the Israelis in 1981. He was executed, assassinated because of making peace with Israel. I don't think Bibi Netanyahu is a bad man. I know that's not the common thinking out there, and that's okay. People can, again, believe what they want to believe. I know he's not perfect, and he's doing the best for his country, but I wonder if any of us had to fight wars on 8 different fronts at one time, if we would handle things any differently. That poll earlier tonight, 85 to 15 was the number of people that believe Israel has acted appropriately in response to 2023. You don't get to dictate the terms of a response when you attack another country. You just don't. The world thinks it can, but it can't. The world thinks it can, but it can't. We're almost done. We're almost done. Let's see here. Thank you for the Qatari thing. Zella, the Bush compound got hit by a hurricane in 91. That was actually the perfect storm. And let me come over here. Cleo, you could have left that up there. I was going to read your statement about the Qatari situation. There's a lot of concern. We're going to talk about the Qatari thing next week. Pete Hegseth announced that there's going to be some joint military exercises with Qatar in Idaho, and I've got a mixed feeling about that, but I don't think it's as bad as some people are wanting to make it out to be. I don't think it's as good as other people want to think it's good for the country. I don't think it's either. It's an intriguing thing because it seems that Trump got mad with Israel when they went after Qatar. Because they've all of a sudden become the best buddies of the United States, which I don't think that's a good idea, but that's just an opinion. But yes, there is some concern about that. We're going to deal with that next week because we're going to get some people. It will host Qatari, thank you, Cleo, it will host Qatari F-15 jets and pilots for joint training with U.S. forces, enhancing actions. The facility is part of an existing U.S. base. It's not an independent foreign base. Thank you. That's the right thing to say. It's not going to be an independent foreign base. They're going to work hand in hand with the American government. Yeah, Zella, it was the perfect storm. That was the perfect storm in 91. The storm in 2005, the one in 91 didn't have a name to it. The movie The Perfect Storm is what happened. Maybe we'll share that Monday night. Maybe that'll be something we can talk about Monday night. The connection with these storms and all these events with Israel, because there's a lot of them that has happened. Katrina was the 2005 event. All this took place in 2005. Katrina destroyed the political career of George W. Bush Jr. And that Gaza situation, Ariel Sharon had a massive stroke. It wasn't even, I would say, a month or two when all this took place. See, and maybe we've forgotten, and maybe we don't need to forget, Ariel Sharon removed the settlers that lived in the Gaza Strip. There were Israeli people that lived in the Gaza Strip. He removed them from the land forcibly. He literally took away the homes of his own people to cave to the pressure of the United States to give up the land to Israel. I'm going to tell you what. The people of Israel was living in tents. Some of you may or may not remember that. I do. They were living in tents because they had been removed from their homes. If you look at a picture of the New Orleans Superdome a week after Katrina hit, there were people that had to literally bring tents into the Superdome to live because their homes had been destroyed by Katrina. Just some food for thought. Just some food for thought. Not Andrew. Tella. Gaza and Sharon is when we got hit by Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina. There was the 94 situation was an earthquake under Clinton, not a hurricane. We're going to do a show on that. We'll do a show on that. All right, folks, it's 1:45. It's 1:45. And Elaine, I'm not aware of the situation with the man who was arrested for Kirk's murder and said there's a list to be murdered. I've heard something about that. I have no idea. We'll look into that. I haven't heard. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. I will say this, folks, to everybody. I will say this to everybody. Be very careful right now, even now, a month later, what you're hearing about Charlie Kirk. I saw Tatum, Officer Tatum, or Official Tatum, Brandon Tatum. He's got a great podcast. He was talking about this today. There's just so much misinformation, out there about this situation, and even from the right, even from our side, people are just coming up with some of the craziest stuff. I don't doubt it, Lane. I wouldn't doubt there is a list out there. I wouldn't doubt it, but I would just say I'd have to see it. I'm not aware of it. I've not heard anything like that, at least right now. I mean, there may be, but anyway. Another great show tonight. Tim Neal, thank you, sir. I thought it was a pretty good one too. I thought it was a good one. Zella, let me state it again for you. 91 was the first Land for Peace deal under Bush Sr. Okay? That was the first time that we pressured Israel to give up land for peace. The perfect storm, it was never named. It was never named an official hurricane. And there were so many weird things about that storm. And it came up, and then it went into Kennebunkport, Maine, and it did destroy the Bush's home in Kennebunkport. And people say that were there, that have been eyewitnesses of that storm, said that the waves were coming out of the ocean so ferocious that it looked like at times that they were in the form of a fist, just pummeling the Bush home. Bush was actually overseas pressuring Israel, telling Israel, if you don't play ball with us, we're going to take your money away. He had to cut that negotiation with Arafat off and come home because his home was being destroyed. In August of 92, for the very first time, Yasser Arafat came to this country to pick up those talks that they had in October of 91. Actually, it was 24 years ago this month, around Halloween. It was toward the end of the month. It was around Halloween when all this happened. I never will forget it. That was Andrew. That Land for Peace initiative was stopped in its tracks by the one that hit Miami. Katrina was the one that took place after we forced them to give up the Gaza. Obadiah, I would encourage you, Zella, read the book of Obadiah. There's a law, spiritual law, that as you've done to Israel, so shall it be done to you. And we're going to talk about that more Monday night, because there are some connections. But I hope that clears that up for you. The Perfect Storm. If you've ever seen the movie The Perfect Storm, I've been to Gloucester. And it's a beautiful town. And I've talked to people. Actually, Kathy and I went to the restaurant where they actually filmed the movie and sat in the little bar and talked to the people there. And they still hear from some of these actors that was in that movie to this day. But the people they represented, many of them have left that area, but some of them have passed since that movie took place, or since the event took place. But that movie, The Perfect Storm, is a true story. But it had ties to Israel. It had ties to Israel. All righty. Good deal. Did you get something out of this? Put some fire in that house. Deanna Salem, well, good to see you. Glad you're up late. And good to see you tonight. Good to see you tonight. And thank everybody for being with us. If you got something out of this, put some fire in that house. Put some fire in that house. And we're grateful that you've been with us tonight. And has this not been better than Jimmy Kimmel? Harriet Hunter says she's in the house tonight from down under. Good to see you. Cleo, thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for being out there tonight. Thank you for all the input, too. It helped a lot, friend. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, friend. Cherished friend. All right. Now, listen, folks. I want to say this. Let me come back over on my screen. We've said a lot of stuff tonight. And I know that some of this is not going to sit well with a lot of the fans of some of these social media people. And all that, and that's fine. And I didn't do it even, again, my purpose in even bringing their names up was not to act like I'm calling somebody out and I want to say that, folks, that criticism of policy is not anti-Semitism. I'm not happy with how we're handling this peace plan, this ceasefire. I can criticize President Trump, but it doesn't mean that I don't like President Trump. It doesn't mean I don't love him and respect him. It don't mean I won't vote for him. It doesn't mean I think he's a bad person. I just disagree with the way that I feel like Israel's been strong-armed into this ceasefire. And we're going to talk about that Monday night. But I can say things like Israel has maybe jumped the gun with something, or Israel would have been better off to wait until they were 100% certain in Qatar that those Hamas leaders were going to get killed. That's not being anti-Semitic. When it gets into anti-Semitism, it's when it starts getting personal with the Jewish people. And Zionism, by the way, folks, is another key word. I've not talked about that. We're going to talk about Zionism next week and what it is and what it's not. Because that's the word that people throw out there, and they make the excuse, well, we're not against Jews, we're against Zionists. Well, you can't separate the two. You can't separate the two. Because all Zionism is, folks, is the Jews' belief, and really the Christians' belief, that Israel deserves that homeland, and that homeland will be hers under a future time, but that land belongs to God, but God's given it to Israel. And any effort to take that land from her now is going to be met, folks, with judgment. It's going to be met with judgment. Even the Antichrist, folks, when he comes on the scene, his whole purpose in deceiving her, he is going to give her land back. That's what's going to cause her in many ways to bow down at his feet and think he's the Messiah. That land does not belong to the United States, and it does not belong to the Arab world, does not belong to Europe, the UN, or anybody else. It don't even belong to Israel ultimately right now. It belongs to God. God has ordained that land, though, to be inhabited by his people. And the United States is not the promised land. The United States is not the replacement of that land. The other thing, I hear this too. I've heard Marty Taylor Greene say it. I don't dislike Israel. I don't dislike the Jews. I just hate Bibi Netanyahu. I heard Tucker say that. I've heard Candace say that. Bibi's the devil. Bibi's the outgoat, the scapegoat. Listen, if there was another leader in Israel tonight, they would have the same feeling. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. We're going to talk about these dynamics Monday night. And as I said, I made a decision about who comes on this show and who don't, and we do not truck with anti-Semites. I know the difference in anti-Semitism and people just expressing a policy concern with Israel. You can do that and not be anti-Semitic. But you start calling the Jews names, and you start saying they're symbols of the devil, and they're the synagogue of Satan, and they're killed Christ, and they did all this stuff. And again, we talked about all that this morning in the Bible study. You need to be with us in the mornings. Faith Network, you that are on Facebook, just right there on the Faith Network, y'all can come in and be with us anytime you can. We talked about this very thing all morning this morning. It's good stuff this morning. But please understand, this is not a bash Candace show tonight. It's not a bash Tucker show. It's not a bash Margie Taylor Greene show. This was not what this was about. What I'm trying to get across to you is this: the lies are continuing. Even though there's a ceasefire in place, the war goes on. This war, though, is not just about Israel. It's about us here in America. They're wanting this nation. They're wanting this nation. Not just Israel. It's never been about that land or Israel over there. It's about us. It's about us. God bless you. God bless your families. I hope you've enjoyed a week of the McFiles. I hope you have a great weekend. Now, you gospel folks, you Southern gospel folks, come on back, be with us tomorrow night. Well, actually later tonight now. And we're going to play some Southern gospel music. We're going to need it after this week, ain't we? Woo! But we're going to take a few prayer requests tomorrow night, play some gospel music, share some testimonies, pray for your lost loved ones, and just clap your hands and worship with us. It's going to be good stuff. And then Sunday morning and Sunday night, by the way, our Sunday night Bible study series for the fall is about Israel and the church. So if you'd like to get some spiritual food, come on to the Faith Network on Sunday nights and you'll hear this from a biblical standpoint. I think we've given some biblical stuff tonight, but we really get into the deep theology of the Bible about this on Sunday nights for the rest of the year. You'll enjoy it. So please be with us for that. May the Lord bless you all tonight. I have been so honored to be with you. And take care, my friends. We love you all. And we thank you for being with us. Get some rest if you can. Enjoy your weekend out there. And we're grateful that you're part of this McFile group that is in the house tonight. Good to see you. Put some fire in that house. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. And we'll see you back here over the weekend. Tomorrow, let me say one thing before I leave you tonight. On the faith side, at 8 o'clock in the morning, we will be in Kasili, Tanzania. Saturday morning and Sunday morning. 2-day faith crusade. And we will air that crusade on the Faith Network page only. It will not be on Facebook. It'll be on the McFiles Faith. So if you'd like to join us in the morning, if you're up, come on and help us and say amen a little bit with us and help us encourage folks in Africa for a couple of services down there. And you'll enjoy the messages I think that the Lord's laid on our heart to do. Okay? Listen, God bless you out there tonight. Have a good one. Be blessed out there. We got a lot more to talk about next week. God bless.